Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to my channel. I am so excited to have you all here to see my special guest. Let me connect to Instagram. Give us 1 second. And I think we are, we're not quite there, but we will be in a minute. And I am going to be talking to a special guest about the bundle. And we are all connected everywhere. So again, I just want to say hello and welcome, beautiful people. Today, I'm going to be talking with Skye Conway. I'm really excited to hear about her journey and learn about her. We are both in the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle, and it is something that is going to only be available for a few more days until May 11th. Please feel free to go to either one of our bios. Go ahead and click the link. And then you can purchase it for this fantastic price of $50, and you get so much content. So I just want to say welcome, Skye. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I am too. And you said that you're in Sydney, Australia?
I am. It's morning time here. I've been just actually making some food. So it's like I've been bundling all day, making curries for breakfast.
Oh, wow. That sounds amazing. I hope one day to get to Australia, and Sydney would be one on my list. So yeah, that sounds amazing. So it's nice and a refreshing new morning for you. Well, speaking of cooking food, I made one of your dishes here, and the recipe is in the bundle. And this is your pistachio and fig salad topped with creamy mustard dressing. Now, I can't get fresh fig right now because it's out of season, at least at the stores that I went to. And so what I did was I took dried fig and I hydrated it and soaked it in water and cut it in half. And then I thought I would add either pear or apple. I was going to ask you in place of the fresh fig to try to be able to enjoy it right now. What would you say?
I would say pear. I would say the pear.
Pear is going to be the winner. And then I thought I had pistachios and I was out of pistachios, and I went to the store to get pistachios. And then I'm like, no, I don't need pistachios. And then of course, that is a big part of the pistachio and fig salad. But in this case, I did use pine nuts. And when I make this again or eat it later, I will add the pistachios. So I just wanted to share that with you. She's got amazing, amazing food.
That looks amazing. Good for you.
Well, you taught me well, right? And then I didn't put the dressing on yet because I figured it's better to pour it on when you're ready to eat it.
Yes, I agree. But also I think it's really cool and important that people know that when you don't have something, you just substitute it, right? For pears, for dried figs, for pine nuts.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm glad to hear that you are sharing in that with me. But this is the creamy mustard dressing. Oh my gosh. I tasted a little bit of it and I am excited to pour that on there. And I'm just, so happy that I have a new recipe to share. So if you are thinking about getting the bundle, and I mean, you're going to want this recipe. There's so much stuff in there, but I got to just share that. And so first, I just want to say that this is our first time chatting and we've never met before. So yeah, so I know a lot of people may, especially like my viewers, they may not be familiar with your story. And so I would like to ask you to maybe take us back to the beginning and just maybe a summarization about, how you got here, what was your life like before you discovered raw foods. And before you get into that, I just want to say to anyone in the chat watching, hello, welcome. Anyone here watching at all, even if you're not in the chat, we have Lisa saying hello, and of course Scorpy. And if you have a question or a comment for us, put it in there and we will get to it. So yeah, what do you think about that? Take us back.
Okay, so my journey started when I was 8 years old, and during that time I got chickenpox, and I didn't heal properly from it. I had like chronic fatigue, swollen glands, missing so much school. This went on and I ended up having my tonsils and adenoids removed, and then I kind of got back to things. After this, I was probably well for a couple of years, and then I got chronic pain, pelvic pain, hip pain. I was having surgeries. I was missing school. I was really fatigued. Anyway, they ended up finding I had a second piece of uterus called endostromatosis, endo being like inside the body, stroma being like organ or meat in wrong place, osis made it a disease. But basically, a second piece of uterus attached to nerves and ligaments that was causing this tremendous amount of pain. Like they were using biofeedback on me that they use for women in labor, and they couldn't get a start reading. I was in like, I couldn't function. I was in so much pain. Anyway, they took this out and I did well. I was in my 20s now. But then all of a sudden the pain started to come back. They put me on anti-inflammatory medications. I'm now having more surgeries. I've become anemic, severely anemic to where I can't stay conscious, to the point where I start actually vomiting blood. And I couldn't stay, I was like, had a horrible thing going on, rushed me to hospital, and they said, is there anything wrong, like going on with you that's new? And I said, well, it's this pain in my pelvis, this, so they're going to send me to a private hospital once they bring my hemoglobin up, because my hemoglobin was like basically like 37 or something. It was so low. And so I needed blood transfusions. Anyway, I said, my stomach gets kind of sore at night. Anyway, they went in. I had a perforated ulcer which had ripped up. So they cut me open all the way down. They tried to fix both sides of cauterize inside and outside of the stomach. Massive 14-hour surgery. They had to bring in trauma surgeons from other hospitals. Anyway, come to, and I'm in ICU and HCU, and I can finally eat, and I'm about to go home, and then I projectile vomit red blood again. Back into emergency surgery. They're trying to like save it. And anyway, I come to from this, and they said, if you vomit blood again, we have to remove, and they drew this diagram. We have to take out your stomach, your duodenum, and the top of your intestines. Well, I vomit blood. Back in, and they cut out the whole top of my digestive tract. But mind you, this isn't my problem. My problem is back pain. Like it still is this horrible back pain. But after this, I got back to work. I only worked about 4 years of my life. But after this, I got back to work for about 10 months. And then I'm on a walking stick. I'm on unbelievable doses of fentanyl, morphine, OxyContin. They needed antidepressants for pain. I was on hormone replacement, stomach medication, in and out of hospital on ketamine because the pain in my back was so bad. And I had full-time carers, I said walking stick. Anyway, they finally discovered by putting in chemically induced menopause that I didn't have my pain. I still had a hell of a lot going on, but this nerve pain, which at this time was through my face, through my eye, through my pelvis, down the back of my legs, through my fingers, it was horrible. So I said, I can't be on these medications. You can't keep giving me chemicals. I want a hysterectomy. You have to stop this. Because in the meantime, I'm in hospital every few months. They're putting Botox in my spine, local anesthetic in my spine. They're having to like pull out my pelvis, which kept going in. Anyway, so they gave me a full hysterectomy, and then I went through menopause really quickly, which was horrible. Then I started coming off all the medications and opioids they had me on. And this is where I got even sicker because I couldn't hold weight. I was like vomiting, diarrhea, in and out of ICU. Basically, I got to 37 kilos and they didn't think I was going to survive. Just all my blood work kept showing everything was not working. Dissociated, lost my memory, ended up in a psych unit. I had been in a bedroom at this point for like 12 years. And I came out of this with like no memory, but I ate paleo. So now I'm 37 and I'm eating a paleo diet. So it's like nuts, seeds, meat. At the end of this year, I got shingles through my eye. I got something called FND, which displayed as a stroke. I couldn't walk, couldn't talk, had to go to a neurological hospital to relearn to do everything, tie my shoes, butter my toast. Then I had such severe PTSD, I was literally scheduled in psychiatric units for the next 2 years. Then I tried drinking to try and cope with this once I got out, and my liver failed, and then I'm back in hospital. This stage, my parents said, we can't look after you. I ended up homeless. And this is where I was vegan from when I got the shingles through the eye, but I was getting sicker still. But when I lived in my first apartment, I got my first place. Someone helped me get my first place. I would just eat the food raw because I was too sick to cook it. And I would get up. I'd literally be able to hang the washing out. And I'm like, I'm feeling better. And then I put do some dry roasted pumpkin and garlic and tomatoes back in bed, tachycardia, heart problems. At this stage, blood was coming out of like most places of my body. It was gross. And then I would just start eating the raw food. Within 6 weeks, most of my symptoms were gone. So it's taken, of course, years to get my memory back, build up, like get become who I am today. But within the first year, I started working. I started my own business. I was swimming in the ocean in winter. I was no pain, no medications. I wasn't addicted to anything. So yeah, that's my story.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So I feel I feel like I went through that with you, and everyone watching that hasn't heard that. I'm sending you a lot of love and just really major support, and for what you've been through. Wow. What I noticed is that you never gave up, even though you stumbled upon a solution. It sounds like no matter what was thrown at you, you still kept going, right? And that, I think, is something that is like um, normal inside us. We want to live. We do. We have Todd is saying, "What a warrior!" People are just dang. Judy said. So I first of all thank you for sharing that, and I am just have to tell you how gloriously beautiful and stunning you look. You don't look like, not that people can tell from the outside, right? But when you look, I would never, if I saw you walking down the street, would never know. So, yeah, thank you. Wow.
I do credit the raw foods with, like, it doesn't just take away physical, it rebuilds the spirit and the soul and allows me to create beautiful memories and stay present. And I was just did a live on this. That's so important in healing, because if someone's got chronic illness, and you would hear in my stories, these surgeons keep taking things out, but it keeps popping
Right.
back up somewhere else.
Yeah.
And we as humans will continue to repeat those patterns until, like, the mind, body, soul, spirit is all healing together. And I found no other way to do that but get raw foods in and then get into nature. Like, without being able to really connect to much of the universe, without much concentration or memory, I'm still so hugged by the universe. Like,
Mm.
every day I can go out there and I can take some fruit and I feel so loved. And that love is unconditional. It's like self-love. It's like you're able to conceptualize in a physical sense self-love. And I'm just so, so grateful. And I'm grateful for my experience of what I went through, because it makes me strong. It makes me know that when people are like, was it hard to get on raw foods? No, what was hard was walking sticks and hospitals and psych units. Eating fruit's not hard. What you've got to really think about where you've come from, and what what you're doing now is just not hard compared to,
Yeah.
what was.
Yeah, and I want to talk more about your journey and everything. Just because I don't know how much you know about me, but I also stumbled on healing through food, and it is incredible when it's just like, oh my gosh, it's the food. Then now all of a sudden you realize, and for me it was like, I don't know why this is working, but I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing because I'm getting better and better and better. And so I do want to ask you a question. You mentioned having anemia. And
Yes.
I'm wondering, how can you, or do you even know, like, how did you heal from your anemia?
Sure. So out of all the things that were wrong with me, the one that shocked the doctors the most that I healed was anemia, because they took away my duodenum and the top of the small intestines, where most of B12 and the iron in my body is absorbed. So from that point, they said, for the rest of your life, you need to have infusions every few months. Like, that's just a non-negotiable. And I did that. But I had other nutrient deficiencies, but I was always anemic, always having these infusions, until my liver failed, what was failing, and they couldn't give it to me anymore. And so when I started this, I had, even when I was paleo, I needed infusions every few months. I ate the raw foods, and within 1 year, I was not anemic anymore. Now, I will say, and that this shocked the doctors. They're like, you're not, if you were saying you cured it with like carnivore or something, okay, we get that, but you're missing the part of your stomach which is supposed to absorb iron, and now you're not anemic. I will say, when I got really high into fruits and not enough veggies and greens, I did need another infusion, but that's just one, and that was a year ago, and that's held. I'm making sure I do lots of greens, lots of veggies. I got very high into the fruits. So it is also about listening to your body. But I was talking to Freely recently, and she was saying, like, on a raw diet, you are consuming so much available vitamin C. So any iron you have is assimilated quite easily, which is very true. Like, all this, I'm having, like, every night I was having literally like juice of 3 lemons over like spinach and like greens. And I just feel there's no resistance with raw foods. Like, what it felt like for me, because obviously I don't have a stomach, things aren't broken down properly. Like, for the first time, anything that got absorbed was useful. Like, in the past, I felt like my body was like munching down on all of this, like, like cooked foods and like protein powders and stuff. And then it finally gets something across the line or across the gut, and it was like, we can't do much with it. Whereas it felt like I got on the raw foods, and whatever it could get across was just very bioavailable. And yeah, so I didn't set out to heal anything in particular, because there was so many different diagnoses. I just wanted to be well, and then everything just healed. It did take my liver on a blood test 2 years to get back to normal, but every blood test, all the markers for the first time in my life just kept rising, which usually they were all like going down.
Wow, that's incredible. So you mentioned greens. Are you sprouting these greens? How are you making greens if you're raw?
So I usually buy a lot of greens, as in, like, buy spinach, I buy mixed leaves, I'll buy like different types of spinach, I'll get some dandelion. I don't have a big place. I've never sprouted microgreens. I love sprouts.
Oh,
But sprouts, to me, I will have them just sprouted. Like, as in, to me, they're more protein. What I found on this diet, I knew when it was so successful for me, I had to find a way to make it sustainable for me, because I knew if you get something and it's too hard, it's too much effort, I just get overwhelmed and I'll. So greens are everywhere. You can go to a shop and buy a bag of greens. I do get mine organic now, but at the start it was all non-organic. It was just what I could get. So I love my greens.
Okay, so you're saying greens, and I thought you were saying grains, as in like.
Oh, no, grains. No, just greens.
Okay. My bad. Sorry about that.
Yeah, greens.
Okay. So you're eating tons of different greens, and you're just making that, and that's what's working, not grains. Okay, got it.
No grains. And truly, I never ate based on reading a book. By this stage, I'd read, but when I was my sickest, I was the most academic in my head, the most educated. When I healed myself, I couldn't read or write for years. It was all intuition. So when I healed myself, I never read, should I have this or should I have that? I literally just, you want a carrot, you can have the carrot, you just can't cook it. You want beetroot, have the beetroot, you just can't cook it. If you want some cashews, just have them raw. That's basically all I did, was like an animal, just like animals in nature.
So that, to me, tells me that you have that gift of being totally in tune. And
Yeah.
I was talking with Chris Kendall earlier today, and we were talking about that. A lot of people, including myself, it's hard to sometimes figure out, when you're full, or why am I hungry so often, or what's working. And it sounds like you were able to really get in touch or in tune with that intuition. And I don't know if that's something else that were you consciously aware of that, or you just followed what your gut told you to do?
So when you've had mental health and you're dissociated, mental health problems, you're dissociated, and you have FND, so you can't read, you can't concentrate, all you've got is really feelings. And I am like an empath already, but I will say I struggle more now that my brain is healthy and can take in all this internet knowledge all the time, right? And that's why I really say is, if you can get away, the more I'm at a stage in my life now where I want to share. So it's very different from at the start. But if you want to heal yourself, get away from other voices, get away from if you keep reading, each book will talk you into something new. It was really about, this felt good, and that's the only voice. There was no watching TV afterwards. There was no reading about a carrot. There was just sitting outside with the feeling. And if something made me feel like crap, that's all I could feel. I couldn't detach from those feelings with smoking or drinking, or there was no medications, or it was literally I had to feel, and I'm like, oh well, I'm not sitting with this cooked potato feeling, like this is, I'm not getting up. And there's like there was different variants of it. So when I had the watery raw foods, like the cucumbers and the carrots and the apples and the grapes and all of that, I felt really good. But then sometimes I'd want something more grounding, like, like nuts or seeds, or I have a bit of sauerkraut. Now, they never made me feel as good, but you could tell my body needed them and would withstand having some of them. But it's not like I could then spend a day eating raw almonds. I would then not feel good. So it's all about learning what it was really about, just what I wanted, which I assume animals do in nature. They don't have a nutritionist or a book to go read, or someone to tell them they've got to count their macros. They literally, today I feel like licking salt off a wall, I'll lick salt off a wall. Today I feel like, I want some grass, I want a banana. It's basic, and I don't have access to that anymore. I'm still very intuitive, but it's because my brain's back online, right? It was very just like instinctual. And I think when saying this out loud, when you have to sit with the feeling of food, and you can't watch TV, and you can't gossip with friends, and you can't have like a coffee or whatever it is to distract you, it really imprints. You're like, this ain't working. I have to have it at raw.
Right. Wow. Wow. Well, I do want to say there are a few people in the chat saying hello. Donna Nelson, hi, Skye, and Dee Price is waving. Lisa is here, hello, and anyone else, if I missed you, we want to just know you're very welcome here. We're so happy that you're all here. So, I'm wondering, like, they took parts of your digestive system. How are you able to eat? I mean, is that, it's just like, wow, it's incredible.
The human body is incredible. Like, it really is incredible. So they took, so usually people eat, and it's really hard because you digest this way. I'm not going to say left and right. I'm just going to draw it. You digest this way across there, and then it comes back, and then you weave it down there. I digest straight down, because what they did is where the stomach was, there's a tiny bit left, but not much. It dropped over time to just be an extension of the esophagus. The esophagus is now just sewn to the halfway down, or partway down of the intestines, the small intestines. There's no duodenum, there's no stomach. So at the start, I would eat and bring a lot of things back up. But over time, I think the body just adapts. It's like I have a banana type going on there. So it's like there's the esophagus and there's like a banana. So it's easier to eat like things like fruit, but also it's better for me to eat small meals, and then I kind of stop. A bit of a small meal, and then I stopped. The main thing I think that happened was I was already very sick with this disease in my back, and then I'm deficient in nutrients, and now I'm on a diet which is all nutrients. So I think that's like made such a difference to my life. But it really shows what's possible with the human body, right?
Yes. Now, how did your family, your friends, or even the doctors respond when they started seeing the changes that you were making and seeing how you were thriving? How was that?
So I think it's taken them time, only because when you've had psychiatric problems, is as much as someone can be well, they can also not be great. It was great to see that I was doing well, but I think it took time. Medical doctors, as in the ones that do the blood tests, are always blown away. They're always blown away with my past to my present, like just your standard kind of GPs and hospitals. But it's been, because I can go years without seeing like my gastro doctor, and then I'm back rushed in for something. So it's taken now, like one of my doctors, I wrote, because like one of his offsider was retiring, and I said, can you give a big hug to Professor such and such? And Professor wrote back, and he goes, oh my God, it's so inspiring to see you. You're such a you can say warrior. He goes, you're so much inspiration to women who are in pain. And so that's lovely. But I think for those guys, it takes time, because I think the way my body was, and I was, it could go backwards very quickly. But now it's been like 4 years straight. It depends. I can still go to doctors and they're shocked over things, but it's like this one will be that I cured anemia. This one that I have no mast cell activation symptom. I have mast cell activation syndrome as well, where histamines would flare up and I'd have mast cell issues. That's gone. So each one has their, like, I guess, their niche of what they like, and that will fascinate them. But I almost think that it's like the answers, like you're like, here, it's basically cured everything, but most people still believe it's just me. Like, do you ever find that? Like, you can say it cured like 50 different things and you've seen it help so many different people. And yeah, still sometimes we need doctors, of course, but I think a good place to start is diet. But then you tell people, but they don't seem to be able to get there, or they don't seem to think it's for them. That I see a lot.
I do see that a lot, and I can't say the reasoning for it, but I could kind of, if I were to guess, some of them I believe it has to do with there's so much trust in the way that we were brought up in
True.
the medical industry, in the traditional or Western medicine, I call it, that it's hard to think that something so basic and so right in front of our face could actually be the healing thing, more so than the person that I am like doing anything and everything that they say because they studied and they know and I wouldn't question it mentality. And I don't think that it's a bad thing. I think that there's also fear involved in change. And sometimes people aren't sick enough. I, you know, or there's a part of it that's like self-esteem. They want to be accepted. They want to still go with their friends. They want to go to the restaurants. They want to be like what
Yeah.
they're accustomed to. So those are the things that I would say. And I don't know. What do you think about those ideas?
100%. I actually think it took me getting to where I was for me to take on a diet, a lifestyle, and never look back. I believe if somebody handed me this magic bullet or magic answer in the crux of what I was going through, I would have said, I'm too sick for that. That's just rubbish. You don't know what I've been through, blah, blah, blah. I had to go through like my whole reality breaking down to realize that it's me. Like, in fact, we're taught the more we consume and the more we get, the better we'll be in life. We need the big house, we need the great job, we need a dog, we need all of these things, right? I mean, everyone loves a dog, but like, we need handbags and holidays. When what healed me was the more I let go of, the better I got. Like, I'm letting go of, like, wasn't using perfumes or deodorants, or I used, I think, apple cider vinegar and coconut oil for 2.5 years. I think that's what it was. That's it. I would not even buy raw foods in a packet. I'd always just buy it fresh. The less I had, the more I seemed to get better. And then you get to a point where you get to pick what you want in your life. You go, okay, I'll have a little bit of like makeup when I'm on camera, or I'll put well, that's a heatless curler, but like you get to then pick from your experience. But what really happened before I healed myself with like the psychiatric problems is the fabric of what my reality was broke away. Like, I had already learnt before I found the raw foods that what people say, what people do, what people tell you at school, it's just not all true. Like, that had already melted away, and then that intuition sitting with how the foods made me feel, that was just the nail in the coffin, right? That just, I was like, this is the way. We've got it all backwards. It's not the more you get, it's the less you have.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that a lot of times in my own personal journey, the medical doctors are people that knew, that told me there was nothing they could help me with, or what I was doing wasn't, the recommendation. I think sometimes, and I have learned, it's an opinion. It isn't always what they studied. It might be their personal opinion about this food because that's what they think. And then they give it to you in the doctor's office, right? And then most people might take that to heart and be like, okay, I need to go and I need to, increase my dairy or whatever, which I am not saying to do that. I'm just, like something that that I've learned for myself did not work. So, and so that's interesting. I know Apple a Day is here. Hello, Apple. Look at what she says here. Go ahead. And yet, hypocrisy, often called the father of medicine, emphasized the importance of food in maintaining and restoring health. Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. Yes.
I literally feel like we're a computer system and it depends on what software you put in. So we're putting like the downloads of the apples and the fruits and the salads in, and it's full of like life force and knowledge. And I start to become that. And then you plug this computer into nature, like the electricity, which is the sun, and you've got a full balanced whole human who is extremely well. Now I will always say that doesn't take away that, like, I broke my toe recently, and I'm very grateful that the doctor then diagnosed the broken toe and I had to put it in a boot because it was just displacing. So like that emergency medicine, that's there. But like if you have to think about the downloads and the inputs you put in every day, and that's just not food as well. It's like if you watch crappy TV shows and you listen to like bad music, you're going to not feel good as when you listen to uplifting music and meditation and you know, so it's like you get out what you put in. There you go. That's that other saying, right? You get out what you put in. And so put in good.
Yes, yes, yes. And so as you personally were transitioning, were there emotional or mental or physical changes that you still really hold on to that were really important for you to be aware of during that time?
So my journey is really interesting in that respect, because going raw was like I had no detox, I had no struggles. What I did was I knew that I wanted this particular lifestyle when I got well. Like I knew that it wasn't just a have bananas for a few weeks and everything would be fixed. I knew this was a forever thing. So I just reestablished my life. So when I could go, because I hadn't been out of the house, so I'm so happy because I'm doing things. And I'm like at restaurants and I'm like, I will have a wine glass. Can you put water in mine? Like I just make believe. And then when I have my salad, and I look at everyone having 3 courses and wine, and afterwards, like, I feel so tired. I don't feel well. I'm like, I'm going to go to the park. I'm going to go for a swim. Like it's like I was so excited that I could just keep doing things. So I really did, like, of course there's struggles, as in like that addiction side does come up. But compared to what I've been through, it was kind of like I almost made it a sport. Like I'm like, okay, this addiction's going. How can I, I want a piece of cake. I'm going to go and make a raw cake. Like, how can I make it a lifestyle? That's what I was determined to do, because I knew that, like, you get the people tell you there's magic cures, like there's Atkins diet or there's all these weird diets. And then they give you a book and you're supposed to just have these 10 recipes for the rest of your life or whatever it is. And with this, I'm like, no, I'm exploring every flavor, every avenue, every way, every option, so that all these tools are just a lifestyle. I don't want to ever be like, no, I'll just sit here and eat apples forever. I really spent a lot of time doing that so that I would stay raw.
Yeah. And so when you then became well enough to realize that you wanted to share that with others, can you share a little bit about that transition and all the way up until, where you are now?
Sure. Well, you hear me in a lot of interviews talk about how people say, oh, who was your inspiration? Who was your hero? I'm like, I'm my hero. I'm my inspiration.
Mhm.
I'm the one that I couldn't connect to anything else. I went from literally beyond rock bottom, where people thought I was going to die many times, to literally the girl walking around eating celery, apples. Like I really looked at myself like that, as in like, that was kind of like my driving force. I was my driving force. I was, so can you say that question again? Because I've just gone off there.
Oh, just like what was when you were going from, you felt really good and then you wanted to like share with other people.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
because I felt like what I had done was incredible, it was very easy to share. As in it was like part and parcel. It also helped me get some of my dexterity back and concentration back, to just post pictures of food that I made, because I couldn't even cook, and here I am making raw pastas, and like I'm in the sunshine. So I just started posting on Instagram. And I didn't really have any friends because I'd always been sick. And then I'm connecting to like people who are raw, and pictures were easy for me to share as well. And I just think I knew it was such a miracle that there was no way. It was like my destiny. And the whole time I was sick, I always said, I believe I'm going to get well and help others. Like if I can overcome, like, some of the times I've been through, I remember laying there, if I can get over this, whatever it is that gets rid of this will be like amazing. So that's kind of where that sharing aspect came from. And I think when you have your life in alignment, it's not a fear to share. Like, you can get nervous at the start, but when you got all your ducks in a row, or you feel really happy in your life, you've got no shame or nothing you don't want to share. So you're just happy that some of your knowledge and some of your experience could be inspiration for somebody.
Yeah, yeah, I can really relate to you on that personally, because I was in that place, and not the same place, but my own, different place. And I just remember as I was healing and realizing that it's the food, and just to continue eating the food, the whole food, the whole plants. Um, I really wanted to reach out to people that were in that doctor's office being told things that I was being told, like you're only going to get worse, and you're never going to come out of this, and you're always going to have to take these medicines that are brain altering and all of these kinds of things. And that was interesting to hear you say that, because I had that same drive, that same motivation to reach others, to find that person that lost that spirit, that is given up because of somebody telling them that. So yeah, I relate to you in that way. So let's just take a look in the comments here. Let's see. D Price, hi, welcome. It says no 10 recipes. Oh, okay. I'm getting the bundle for an array of gourmet dishes, and that's wonderful. And if you have not gotten the bundle yet, it is only available until the 11th of May. Please reach out to either one of our bios and get it for the discount. She has a beautiful book in there. That's another thing that I want to ask you about, is your book in the bundle is called Roar. Where
Yes.
did that come from?
Okay, first off, I just want to answer this question by Apple a Day, where she
Oh,
says,
sure.
Skye, is sharing part of your healing? Yes,
Oh,
100%. So I feel where I am now because I shared, and because I share, and it helps me conceptualize in my head my story in a more linear fashion. It's massive for me. So yeah, and I'd say that's really come to light recently. And it's, it helps others, but it helps me. You guys help me just as much.
yeah.
So
Well, thank you for bringing that up. I didn't even see that question, and that's why it's so great to have this here. I also
she said here, I enjoy hearing from others and also sharing my own story. It breaks down isolation. And that's why on my channel, I actually interview people. Because I healed myself, not from academia, but from my own journey led me there. I love people's journeys, right? I love people to share, because I think the value is in the journey, not so much the repetitive studies that are done and thrown at our face that we just don't take in, and it could work, it couldn't work, it's never worked before. But people's journeys, I think they're like that movement. But that moves me into raw, as in ROAR, is I knew that raw, as in RAW, raw foods, it may not always be what I'm about, and it isn't all food. So when I thought about raw, it's like the raw foods, and then the nature, and then being me, I guess. I just raw through life now. It's like, and plus I'm a Leo, but like, it's like I roar through my job, and I roar at this, like, and it's something that is, I think, something that's not just the food. Because when if I said I'm like RAW Skye, to me it's like people think of the food, but I want people to think that like I'm just roaring through life now I'm able to like do running, and that might be something I talk about more, because I'm roaring at that now, or that. So that's where that aspect came from.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. D Price says, yes, I feel the same urge to help others, but many don't want the info. I still feel that they need to know. Yeah.
So what I've learned about this journey is, I think we all get on raw foods, or we get on plant-based foods, and we like, oh my God, do you know about raw foods? It will heal your toe and your hair. And did you know about raw foods? It'll heal this, it'll heal that. That will never work. People do not want to be told what to do. They want self-discovery. So you have to get up. And that's why I like journeys and sharing, because I'm not telling people what to do. I'm just telling them what occurred, when, Jennifer, you healed, or when I healed, or when Bob down the street, or whomever healed, and you can't say that that's not true, because it's just what is. And people then start to get inspiration. And I also believe is like when I go to restaurants and I'm like all glowy and I'm eating a salad and everyone else is eating something different, people start to question. They're like, what is she doing? And this helps. But I don't believe that we can like get up and say, you need to go raw and you're wrong if you don't, or you need to eat plant-based. It just, the way you share is whatever your passion is. And it may not, if it may be raw foods helped you, but you may be a musician or you may be something else, is whatever that calling is, just share. Just share. You know, you started young, you learned to play the guitar, you love to run, and whatever, it will just flow. If it's like you're passionate, just like verbal diarrhea, it just comes out and touches the right people.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that as well, because you know, nobody wants to be told that their ancestors or their family dishes or what they're doing or is not working, it's not right. People feel threatened and all kinds of different things. And so I agree. Like, I try to just be the example, not purposely. I mean, I'm glad that it works that way, but I'm just doing what works for me. And if somebody's curious about it and they ask me a question, oh, I'm happy to share. But I agree with you that kind of trying to push something that you might be super excited about might not be perceived that way on the other end. So, yeah. Yeah. So, and earlier there were some analogies that you had on here, and I know Core Scorpy said that he really liked the analogies, and people are in the chat talking about things like that. So I just wanted to mention that. Yeah. So you have this roar. So what are you running now? What are you doing now?
Oh, so I broke my toe, so I kind of been off, but my day kind of goes like, I get up, I usually run, and then I do Pilates. So I usually exercise an hour and a half a day. I must say, breaking my toe, it's been one of those things where it was very, well, it's not very nice, but to stop, like a lot of my emotions and meditation is in the movement. Like it's very, and you hear people who have been through big traumas or big addictions finding like marathon running really helps them. And stopping recently was really, really hard. But it also made me appreciate that if you keep climbing, Skye, you just keep moving forward, you never appreciate the view. And I feel like this past month, I've really turned around and been like, hey, look how far you've come. You're amazing. Like, that's great. But I do get up, do an hour and a half of exercise. Then I coach and do YouTube most of the day. So then by the afternoon, I might get down to outside a bit more. I'll make like salads and fruit and juices during the day. I do love making like getting in the kitchen and making something, like, it doesn't have to be over the top, but flavorful with the raw foods. And then I'm an early night girl. So I usually, like, by 7:30, I'm like trying to get myself into bed. And by 8:30, 9 o'clock, I'm trying to be asleep, because I like to get up with like the sun, like, you know, nice and early. So that's my roaring days.
That's great. That's great. And as far as your foods that are raw, is there anything that you like go to every day? You know, I know you mentioned salads, of course, probably different variety of salads, but do you ever do juices or smoothies, or is there anything else that's like a you go to kind of thing when you don't have time?
I'm obsessed with coconut water. Literally, if I could spend all my money on coconut water, it makes me feel hydrated. It's like I think it's like drinking. I always say to Jillian Berry's my best friend, and I always say to her, because she has it in the morning too, I'm like, let the force be with you, because it makes you feel like you've got like the life force flowing in. So I'm obsessed with coconut water. If I can recommend anything, like, I spend a lot of money on coconut water, but if you can have 1 or 2 fresh coconuts each week, it's like living the life. So that's like my obsession. I do like green juices. I'm not a big smoothie person. I will most days do probably like make a big salad, but also have lots of berries. Berries are like I really like berries. I've got a few persimmons at the moment, like any seasonal fruits. I do like grapes, but I will say I make sure I have a big salad every day and coconut water or a green juice. And I just do the lemon ginger blast with the
Yes.
yeah.
I made that today. And I learned about that through Jillian and Lou Corona and some other friends. So that's pretty cool. And it is really delicious juice. That's interesting that you brought that up. So yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that, because sometimes, you know, there are people that are like, well, you need the fiber and don't juice it, or, certain people put in certain rules. But like you were saying, if you have the intuition and you can kind of just follow and flow with what works for you, you're probably better off anyways.
Can I give some advice? And I knew it before I started it. And that is because I went into raw foods and I ate very light for a few years because I wanted to get in some healing. And then you start thinking, I'm going to, when you eat like lots of fruits and stuff, you think, oh, I'm more enlightened. But what I always knew from the start and what I've come back to is arm yourself with knowing what every raw vegan's doing, what all the foods are, because we are eating a lifestyle which isn't as managed by modern medicine, right, or Western society and science. Is you want to know where you can get all nutrients. You want to know where there's seaweeds, there's sprouts, there's microgreens, there's sauerkrauts, there's nuts, there's seeds, there's veggies, there's fruits, there's dried fruits. The more you can arm yourself with knowing, and you don't have to do this all the time. Like summer might come and I might spend a few days on the beach just with fruit, but if I look at this as a whole picture, is the more variety I can get in, the healthier overall I look. And I think I feel, and I can change every week. And as I said, there's a few staples I like, but if I know that I can get nutrients from somewhere, I'm not even as scared that this isn't the right diet, because we can fall. It's not that it's not the right, it's that we walk out into a society every day which tells us to eat differently than we do, to partake in activities very different than what we do, sit in a restaurant and all these cooked foods. So and these people are, not all of them are getting lots of nutrients, but their availability to nutrients is going to be broader because they can walk in and get a supplement, or they can have some sort of shake and have all different levels of things put in. I believe that the nutrients in raw are much more bioavailable. So have fun with it. Get all the types of foods. And as I said, it doesn't mean you have to have them every day, but you might start craving something that's more, I don't know, salty, and you're like, you never had some sauerkraut, and you start doing it and noticing your gut health gets better. You might have it and it's not for you, but at least it's there. So I feel like I've armed myself with like knowing what, the Lou Coronas are doing, what like, Jillian's doing, what you're doing, what the more the more they're just more nutrients that we can get in. That's like what I like to see.
Yeah, Core Scorpy says, very cool way to go about life, to become an expert and then teach plus inspire. Yes, I agree with that.
I enjoy it, like love it, right? Is in like, it's because I say to people, it's like, you get up and you brush your teeth and you have a shower and you have breakfast, and then I get on camera and I share, and it's just like, that's when you're living in your truth, right? It's not like, oh, I have to force myself through a day of work. It's like, whether I'm paid or not, I'm happy to get on here, and it's like part of me that is just every day.
Yeah. Oh, I feel the same. I really feel the same. I feel this connection with you. And I just going back to the coconut water really quick. I love coconut water too. And there was a time in my life when was told I needed to drink it for the potassium. Another story for another time. But I just wonder, do you buy whole coconuts and open it every day yourself? And how many do you go through?
So I will buy at least 3 a day most days. I go through periods where I don't, which is a bit expensive, but I will then use the meat for dressings or save it to make yogurts. But I have a cocoa. Does everyone know what a cocoa jack is?
No, let's see it. Can we see it?
Yes.
Okay. And I want to respect your time because I know that you have another scheduled thing. So we'll just see if you could share that fun tool.
Yeah.
Ooh, look at this.
I've used it. So it's a cocoa jack like this, and you put it on. You probably seen Jillian use it as well, and you bang it into the coconut, and this pops it open, and you get out the liquid. But then I turn it on its side and bash it more, and it breaks open, and you get the meat out. But there's some that you can buy that have the little pop tops, but I don't like them as much as like cracking them open myself.
Yes. Okay, so I have seen that before, but I didn't know what it was called, and I don't have one. And one time I did do, it was pre-cracked or whatever you call it, and it had like this little spout. And I think we were traveling or something, and I bought one. Nobody that I was with, my husband, nobody, we couldn't get into it. It wouldn't open. And we were like, we really want to get in this. So
Yeah, those ones are annoying. So now I want one and I want to try it coconut. It's so worth it. Like I remember, like it's even because when you create a raw lifestyle, it was even like, people go out for coffee, and when I first could get up, I'm like, I'm going to walk up the street and buy myself a coconut. Like it's about recreating that lifestyle, and like sitting in a cafe, I'd take it under a tree. But with all the exercise I do and everything, it's like my treat. As in, like I would literally, if I'm really unwell, and it costs me I think about $35-40, I'll get a case of coconuts and drink it that day, all throughout the day, and whatever is going on in my body, because it's so hydrating, usually goes, whether it's like histamine issues that have flared up, whether I can feel a cold coming on. I seem to do well by just having a box of coconuts.
Wow, that's cool. That is super cool. So I do want to ask you one last question, and then I also want to allow you to share anything else that you'd want. But for someone who is out there who feels hopeless or stuck in chronic illness or something that might be, just not curable, so to speak, by their doctor, what message would you want to share with them?
Love. Everything I do is for love. So the reason I'm able to eat foods that don't make me feel bad the next day, or the reason I'm able to get outside and sit under a tree, or even in my darkest hours hug trees, is because I remembered I loved me. And we can say we love our children and we love our pets and we love our car and all of that, but we should be on here on earth loving ourselves first, because once you love yourself, I could heal my relationship with my sister and my family, and I could talk to my friends again, and I could hug animals again. But none of that is possible. None of it, even that starting, has to come from love.
Yeah. Wow. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. If there's anything else that you want to share about anything, or even just your unique book that's in the bundle, or anything that's not even about the bundle, it's anything else that you would like to share.
I feel like we've talked about it. Well, I mean, I could talk about any topic for a long period of time, especially when it comes to raw foods. But guys, I think a really important message is this bundle is only for a few more days, and there's 32 brand new contributions. It's just so much knowledge that one time of the year, and that's gone. So if you don't have it, go check it out. It's worth it. It's only $50, and there's just so much in there. And it's also another thing is everyone in there, just go and follow them and see whose journeys you resonate with. And raw vegans are lovely people. Reach out to them, say hello. You become part of the family.
Yeah,
So,
and you don't have to be raw vegan to get the bundle.
No.
Anybody can get it and discover all kinds of wonderful things. There's some really cool, interesting stuff. It's not all recipes. And I know there was a comment that someone said they wanted to get the bundle to see what both of our contributions are. And, I came into this kind of quick and at the end there, so I did not have the opportunity to put in my own, but I am part of a collaboration, which is all about heritage and different types of dishes that are maybe not, mine was not traditionally a raw food, and I created and made something for celebrating the new year and a different culture. And so that's something. And so there are also people that have just been able to donate or collaborate and put into that book. So it's actually more people than you think that are involved. So yeah, it's very cool. And I just want to thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your story, which is so inspiring, and you're so beautiful inside and out. And I just feel very privileged to have had the time to spend with you today.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so much. And you'll have to come over onto my channel and share your journey. I will do it after the bundle, but I love sharing people's journeys.
Oh, I would love it. I would love it. Yes, let's stay connected. And for those of you watching, don't forget to eat your greens. And like I always say, give plants a chance.
I love that.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys.
Bye.